Many of us practicing Zen meditation don't realize it, but there's a strong connection between Zen, how it's been practiced in Japan, and perhaps in other Asian countries as well, like Vietnam and China. But particularly in Japan, there's a strong connection between Zen and Confucianism. Maybe you don't know very much about Confucianism, and that's okay. When I study the sayings of Confucius in his Analects, I see so many connections between Zen practice as I've been taught it and what Confucius has said. This is from the very first saying of Master Confucius. In his first book, first section, he writes, actually, these are recorded from his disciples. He says, having studied to then repeatedly apply what you have learned, is this not a source of pleasure? Right? Let me read that again. Having studied. And by study here, he doesn't mean just book study. We can also add here to study the self. This is what Dogen says in his Genjo Koan. To study the way is to study the self. Having studied to then repeatedly apply what you have learned. What are you learning? Right? What are we learning about ourself? To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. What are we learning, though, in this process? And a famous line from Shunryu Suzuki, he says, in his beginner's mind, the expert's mind has few possibilities, but the beginner's mind has many. To study, we need to have a beginner's mind, right? Confucius's next sentence is, to have friends come from distant quarters, is this not a source of enjoyment? Aren't we? Right? Isn't this wonderful to have us come together from various parts of the community to be together? Is this not a source of enjoyment? Right? So we need to kind of recognize that, I think, right? We're together. This is amazing, especially during COVID times, right? We have this way of communicating that brings us together. Is this not a source of enjoyment, right? To be together, to go unacknowledged by others. This is his third sentence and the last one. To go unacknowledged by others without harboring frustration. Is this not the mark of an exemplary person? Don't we all want to be acknowledged by people or for things that we've done? I know I certainly do at times. But Confucius is suggesting we try otherwise, to go unacknowledged by others without harboring frustration. Is this not the mark of an exemplary person? These are things we can strive for, right? Having studied to then repeatedly apply what you have learned, is this not a source of pleasure? To have friends come from distant quarters, is this not a source of enjoyment? To go unacknowledged by others without harboring frustration, is this not the mark of an exemplary person?